Hello and welcome back to lesson 10. We are going to be ordering and comparing decimals, fractions, and percentages today. So using a lot of what you learned in the last two lessons and applying that. But first we're going to take a look at our thinking question, which says, why do you think we use percentages if we can say the exact same thing with fractions and decimals? So if you watched the lesson on calculating percentages and finding percentages, then you'll be able to answer this question a lot more easily, I believe. And the reason we really need percentages is because sometimes we need to compare two things that are out of a different value. So let's say that two basketball players are seeing who can play better, who can make more shots and get the ball in the hoop. Well, if one of them only tries 10 times and the other one tries 25 times, then we can't really compare how many times they get it in. So let's say that this person gets it in 3 out of 10 times. So they get it in 3 out of 10 times. And this person gets it in 5 out of 25 times. Well, it looks like the person who got it 5 out of 25 times did better. But if we calculate the percentage, we'll find that this is 30%, and this is only 20%. So this person is actually better at basketball. And the reason we can tell that is because this is saying that if the person made 100 shots, they would get 30 in. And that's equivalent to 3 out of 10. And if this person made 100 shots, they would only get 20 in. So this person is actually going to be the better this person is actually going to be the better basketball player. So that's where percentages can really come in handy. Now today you're going to need your pencil, paper, and a calculator. We're going to compare these two values. We have a fraction and a decimal. The best way to compare two values is to put them in the same representation. So in this case, you can either make them both fractions or you can make them both decimals. You know from the previous lessons how to do that. So you're going to pause your video now and choose to either make both of them decimals or both of them fractions. Go ahead and do that now. Depending on what you chose, you either have written down 36 hundredths and 74 hundredths, or 36 over 100 and 74 over 100. Now it's pretty easy to look at this and say, okay, which one's larger? If I look at the fraction, 74 pieces out of 100 versus 36 pieces out of 100, I know the 74 over 100 is larger. And then the same would go up here because 74 hundredths is larger than 36 hundredths, and then I know the answer. Now this next one's going to be a little bit trickier because it's a percent, but again, you're going to make them have the same representation. So you're either going to make them both percentages or you're going to make them both fractions. So pause your video and do that now. So you either have 70% and 70%, and the reason you would have 70% is because if I multiply both of these times 10, I get 70 over 100, and so that's 70 out of 100, that's 70%. Or you could have written down 70 over 100, which you can then reduce to 7/10, and they're the exact same number. So if you are comparing two fractions and you find that one is 70 hundredths and one is 7/10, you can't compare those yet because they have a different denominator. So you have to make them have the same denominator, which I did by reducing it. And these are all equal. Here's another one. So we have a fraction and a percentage. So you're going to decide which one you're going to convert to. So are you going to make them both fractions or are you going to make them both percentages? Make sure you're looking at what number is in the denominator. You can't necessarily automatically turn that into a percentage. Pause your video and do that now. I decided that before I even started, I was going to make my fraction out of 100, or I could have used the calculator trick where you divide the numerator and the denominator, but I found that it was 32 over 100. So that helped me to write my percent, which was 32%, and 16%, which we already had, and then 32 over 100 and 16 over 100. So which one's larger? Pause your video and draw the symbol. Correct. 32% or 16 over 50 is the larger number. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. We are just doing our decimals and fractions, but we can't easily make our fraction out of 100, and it isn't already out of 100, so it's going to be more difficult to convert it to a decimal. But if you recall from the calculating percentages video, you can turn a fraction into a decimal by simply dividing 7 divided by 12, and that will get you your decimal. So pause your video and do that, and then decide which one is larger. 7/12 is the larger number because when you do the division, 7 divided by 12 equals 0 and 58 hundredths versus 50 hundredths, which is going to be a smaller number. Okay, so now we are going to be putting numbers in order from least to greatest. The best way to do that is to find the least, so the smallest number first. So you're going to look at all of these decimals, fractions, and percents, and I would recommend putting them all in the same form, and then we're going to decide which one's the smallest, and then we'll go to the greatest, and then we'll fill in between. But you're going to want to choose a form that's going to be the easiest for you to compare. So pause your video, you're going to choose. You can either make them all decimals, all fractions, or all percentages. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I've put them all into percentage form. However, if you decided to do decimals, it would look very similar. All right, so I've put them all both into percentage and decimal form. Fractional form would have been okay, but it would have been more difficult because you would have had to make both of these out of 100, and that would have been really hard. So I think percentages and decimals probably are your best bet with this one. And now I'm going to go through, and I'd like you to check to make sure you have all your quantities correct, and then you're going to pause the video and decide which one is the smallest, and on your paper you're going to draw a line, and on the furthest left side of it, you're going to put the smallest number. Pause your video and do that now. The smallest number is 4%, and that's because it's only 4 out of 100. All of the other numbers are much larger than that. Now you saw that I dragged down the original number, and I'm going to do that with all of them, but I can easily see which one is the smallest and largest and in between while they're up here. But I'm going to transfer the original number, not the equivalent that I changed it to. So now you're going to pause your video and put down the greatest number, the largest number. Go ahead and do that now. I dragged down 8/9 because that was 88%, and 88% is the largest number that we have up here. It's the most out of 100 that we have. So now we're going to fill in the middle. So you're going to go through and figure out which one is going to come after 4%. Which one is going to come before 8/9? So you're going to go through and do that. Pause your video and write out the other numbers all in the correct order. Go ahead and do that now. So here are the numbers all in the correct order. We have 4%, 0 and 31 hundredths, 31 over 80, 0 and 43 hundredths, 87%, and 8/9. Great job. We're going to try another one of these now. So we have a whole bunch of numbers up here, and they're not all in the same form. So you're going to pause the video and put them all in the same form. Again, it's probably going to be best to do either decimals or percentages. Go ahead and do that now. So here I have put all of the quantities into either a decimal or a percentage. The top row is the decimal and the bottom row is the percentage. And now I can easily decide which one's the least, which one's the greatest, and everything in between. So you're going to pause your video after you've made sure your numbers are correct and put them all in order. Let's go ahead and do that now. So here I've put them all in order. It starts with 2 hundredths, and then we jump up to 51%, 5/8, 8/10, 61 over 70, and 99%. Great job. That's a lot of numbers to think about all at once, and it takes a lot of the skills that we've learned in the previous lesson, so go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for working so hard. Here we have a word problem. We're going to do 2 word problems today. On Wednesday, 34 out of the 50 states received rain. On Tuesday, 48% of the states received rain. On which day did more states receive rain? So you're going to figure out which day did more states get rain. Pause your video and do that now. More states got rain on Wednesday, and the way I figured that out is first I made a fraction because I knew 34 out of the 50 got rain on Wednesday, and then, well, I can't automatically turn that into a percentage to be able to compare it to my other percentage. So I knew that 50 times 2 would get me to 100, which is the denominator I need. So I multiplied both the numerator and the denominator by 2, and I got 68 out of 100, so that's 68%. That means on Wednesday, 68% of the states got rain. On Tuesday, only 48% of the states got rain. So Wednesday saw more states with rain. You're planning an ice cream party for your class. You took a survey to find the most popular flavors. 1/5 of the students chose chocolate. Another 0.3 chose cookie dough. Another 20% chose mint chocolate chip. 1/20th chose cake batter. Finally, 0 and 25/100ths of the students chose vanilla. Put the flavors in order from most to least popular so you'll know what to buy. So now we're doing most to least popular, and you're going to need to put all of these in the same form. So we have some different fractions, decimals, and percents. I would recommend separating them out and writing them on your paper, then put them all in the same form, and then you can put them in order from most to least popular, all right? I'm going to underline the numbers so that you can find them easily. 1/5, 0.3, 20%, 0.25, and 1/20th. All right, pause your video and do that now. Here I have all of the flavors in order. So what I did was I put down the original quantities that I had, and I put I wrote a quick note of which flavor was which so I didn't lose track. And then I was able to look, I put them all in percentage value, and then I was able to see, okay, the most common or most popular is cookie dough with 30%, so I'm going to put that down first. And then vanilla came next at 25%. Mint and chocolate were both tied at 20%, and then cake batter was the lowest at 5%. So I'm going to want to buy the most of cookie dough, vanilla, and mint, and chocolate, and then cake batter I'm not going to need a whole lot of if I buy any at all. All right, so our thinking question for this lesson is, why is it easier to compare numbers when they are out of the same whole? So think back to calculating percentages as well as this lesson, and why is it so important that they have to be out of the same whole? All right, so think about that between now and the next lesson. Goodbye.